And welcome back to Ghost of the Webway. So I've got Wes with me again. Say hi, Wes.
Hello, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So this is finally Encore episode 3. And it is a very, very exciting one to go through today because we are going to look in detail at the new codex.
There's a new codex.
There is a codex. Well, it's sort of. It's a few pages of a new codex, I guess, really. But yeah, I mean, aside from the fact that we are being lumped into a general mixed codex, I do think we've come out of this one quite well. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, I do too. I think it was an emotional roller coaster finding out not getting our own codex, but then actually once I've looked into the rules and what we've got here, I'm pretty happy with that actually. And I think there are bonuses that we get for being in a mixed codex now, in terms of sucking more people into being followers of the Laughing God.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is kind of my hope as well, is that we're going to have a bigger community. Because although it's really nice to play like a niche faction in some ways, because you're like, aha, no one's going to see me. You're not going to see it coming. But at the same time, it's like we do want, obviously, new models, and we want other things coming out for the Harlequins, and that's only really going to be possible if more people are playing them. This seems to make it much easier, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the overall positive of it, really, isn't it? And I think, yeah, again, when you look at the rules, we've got some really nice stuff here.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd say we're pretty competitive now.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. We've lost a bit of the flavour, but we'll go into that one as well. But yeah, like we definitely are a very competitive faction now, I would say.
Yeah, I think overall we've lost some of our unique, more tricksy play style, but we've got some more overtly powerful units. So I think it's an easier army to get into now, which I think is only a positive, really.
Absolutely, yeah. More players means more potential for new models, for new data sheets, and maybe, who knows, in 10th edition we might get our own codex again with maybe some new tasty treats. So
well, there was a new Harlequin model released last year, wasn't there?
There was.
Harlequins were the only people who couldn't take it.
Yeah, that was wonderful news there. It's like, oh, a new... Oh, no. Okay, well, that was fun. Fun while it lasted. Good, so let's jump straight in. We're going to look, first of all, at the army-wide special rules. So we've got a few things there. We've got Rising Crescendo still, and that's still the same name. And Wes, do we want to take us through that one quickly?
Yeah, so Rising Crescendo. So let me take you through that. The unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. This unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back.
So, pretty much the same as we had before, right?
Yeah, no big changes there. Probably slightly wording changes. Yeah,
I mean, that was something that defined us. You know, if we'd lost that in any kind of way, or if that had been nerfed in some way, I think there would have been an uproar among all Harlequins fans. Just like, what? We can't do that anymore? No.
No.
So
I think we've done well to keep that, because that's a really nice rule, isn't it?
Absolutely. Then we have the Harlequins Penelope, which is looking quite tasty now.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a mismatch of all those bits of rules that you had before. And so I'll run through it now. So models in this unit have a 4+ invulnerable save. So that's representing the hollow suit that Harlequins have.
The hollow suit.
Each time this unit makes a normal move, advances, falls back, makes a charge move, units that finish this move, models in this unit can move horizontally through models and terrain features. They cannot finish on top of another model or its base.
Yeah. So this is kind of like what we had with our flip belt as well, but they've changed that rule 150 times now. But we can jump over things now actually even more effectively than we could in the last edition of it, right?
Yeah, essentially we just move through stuff as if it wasn't there. The only thing we don't have is going vertically. Vertically, we still have to move that normally if we're moving up that, but otherwise we just ignore stuff. It's like pseudo fly.
Yeah, because we had it right at the beginning. I remember at the beginning of the 8th edition, we could do vertically, we could do absolutely everything. Then they completely nerfed it so that we could only move over things. And then they went back to something else, and then there was something else in between, and now it's basically this. So lots of changes on that one. It makes sense that it is like this, I think, and I think it's a very good rule still.
Yep, and then the final bit, which is a bit of an addition for us, is that each time a melee attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll.
So good.
It is.
So
this, for so long, the Harlequin's mask has been a part of the of the idea of the Harlequin stuff, like reflecting the fears, the enemy in them, and this is that represented there. That's so cool. I love it.
It is really cool. I love how it's like it is fluffy, but it's actually exactly the kind of thing that we need because of our lack of durability usually. And it's like when we're in combat, I mean, I don't know about you, Wes, but I found so many times that you have like, you think, fantastic, I'm going to wipe this unit. And then suddenly it's like, no, the dice are definitely not with me today. And then you just get everything flattened and you go, great. Whilst this helps to mitigate that a little bit.
Yeah, when you're rolling lots of rolls, although you have a 50-50 chance of making it without 4+ invuln, when you're rolling lots of them, your number's going to come up there. So it's just a nice addition of, or subtraction in some respects of the hit potential of the enemy, which is really good.
Yeah. So no, I think really nice sort of like amalgamation of things that we did have before, a couple of additional things, a little bit of a tweak to streamline kind of some of the rules. I think it's actually, they've done us proud in that one, I would say.
Yeah. And if that wasn't enough, we've got the luck of the laughing god, which is the new rule.
This is my favorite new rule. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, this is like, wow, this is kind of everything that I never thought we needed and now have, and I'm really glad we do.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? So I'll read through it now. If every unit in your army has the Harlequin's keyword and is performing the same saedath, each unit with the underlying excluding units with the underlying keyword, then start of each battle round, you gain the number of luck rerolls depending on the size of the battle you're playing, as shown below. So combat, you'll get 1, for an incursion you get 2, strike force you get 3, and onslaught you get 4. In addition, you can make a luck of the laughing god roll to try and increase the number of luck rerolls gained. To do so, roll up to 66. If every result is unique, you gain the number of additional luck rerolls equal to the number of d6 rolled. Each luck reroll can be used to reroll 1 hit, wound, damage roll, saving throw, or advance roll made for a unit from your army with the luck of the laughing god ability. Any luck rerolls not used at the end of the battle round are lost.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, it's obviously going to be a little bit limited in terms of the amount of dice that you're actually going to be rolling. Are you really going to roll 6 dice? No, you're not going to roll 6 dice because the likelihood, have you ever measured it? What is the likelihood of actually getting an individual or unique roll on every single one of those 6?
Depends if Sergrat's looking down at you today or not. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but you better be praying. You better be praying.
It's not going to happen, isn't it?
I mean, you're never.
No, so I think the optimum really is 2 to 3.
Yeah.
2 to 3 dice on this if you want to guarantee something.
Yeah, unless something that we're going to do later on, we're going to talk about later on, but it's most of the time I think doing about 2 to 3 is probably your optimum. 3 is the point where it starts getting a bit risky. At 4, you're sort of going like, I'm probably going to lose this one. But,
how many times
if you do, it's amazing. But,
how many times have you sat there rolling dice now, just figuring out which is the best way?
I spent about 2 hours doing it, and someone took me off. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Nothing. Don't worry about it." It's like just rolling dice.
Yeah, figure out how blessed I am by Segrak right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that sometimes he smiles on you, and sometimes he gives you a good kick in the bum. Yeah. Good. So yes, this is a phenomenal rule. I'm really, really glad about this one. I think it does us proud. Okay, so we move on to the saedaths, whereas I think that is the last of our army-wide rules anyway. So let's move on to the saedaths.
Yeah, let me flick to that. So saedaths are so for the people who don't know, we've lost. I say lost. We used to have the different masks we take before. We used to have 6. So rather than having 6 masks, we now have 3 saedaths. Essentially, what has happened here is the 6 saedaths the 6 masks we had before have now been condensed into 3 saedaths. So where you had 1 ability, now actually you've got 2 abilities per saedath. So in my perspective, it's only a bonus for us. And if you had that rule that you liked using before, you've got that, but you've got an additional one on top of that. So yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it as well. To begin with, I was a little disappointed because there's some flavour behind the Grandmaster, but then it's like, you know what? You still have them law-wise. The only difference is that regardless of how you've painted your army, which I imagine you've probably gone either Frozen Stars or Soaring Spite if you're a competitive player, now you can go, well, I'm just going to play those as light or those as twilight. And given the amount of like patience and energy and work that people put into Harlequin's armies, you don't want to be repainting the whole thing. I mean, I do, but I'm a crazy person, so like I'm now painting my third Harlequin's scheme. But most people at least will then be able to use their beautifully painted models and then basically be able to continue to keep up in the meta if they are playing competitively.
Yeah, I really like it for that point. For me, I used to run Soaring Spite, but my army weren't really painting Soaring Spite, and for the fluff bunny inside of me, that kind of hurt me. But with this now, I've got my own master I run, and I've got 3 troop masters. I've got one that's with the Twilight, one that's light, and one that's darkness. And I just switched that round, as that's going to be my troop master when I'm playing in that different saedath. So for me, I love it. So it means now my army is 3 armies, and as we go to these, you can see they're quite different as well.
Oh, absolutely. I found that as well. I mean, to begin with, I was a bit like, I've been painting all of these tiny little light, dark, and twilight symbols to try and represent all of them. And then when we had the sub-faction thing as well come out with Nachmund, I was like, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter because it's one tiny symbol and it shows that you're representing any part of that as well.
Yeah, so I think it's only a bonus. So I'll run through these if you're happy. The first thing actually to note is you've got the lead role. So if your Harlequin includes a troop master, if your warlord is Harlequins, the warlord must be that troop master.
Makes sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, role-wise and also actually gameplay-wise. I mean, I did silly things like having my Death Jester as a warlord quite often, just because I was like, well, I can just hang back and I'm still good. So I used to just hide my Death Jester behind ruins, but I like it from a fluff perspective, and I think actually it's quite a good one for us actually to have.
Yeah, I agree too. So I'll run through the saedaths then. So the first one is the characterization of light. It's called Blaze of Light. Each time an attack is made against a unit with this characterization, if the attacking model is more than 12 inches away, an unmodified roll of 1 to 3 for that attack fails, irrespective of any abilities that the weapon or the model making that attack may have. That's quite nice, isn't it? And then each time a unit with this characterization makes a normal move or advances in your movement phase, in your following shooting phase, that unit counts as having remained stationary.
Yeah, so this is kind of a blend of essentially, the old Soaring Spite with our advanced shoots. I think it's actually better now because you don't have to be in a transport for it. So that's quite
Yep.
And then that transhuman on hit rolls is phenomenal in many, many ways. I said in a previous video, the only thing that I do think is a bit of a trap with it is the distance. Because if you're fighting for the center board objectives, you're not going to be within that 12. And if you're playing against the kind of armies that you want to have this against, something like Farsight Enclaves, they want to be within 12 of you anyway, because then they get their +1 to hit. So I'm a bit mixed on this one. I do think it is a very competitive choice, and I do think that it leads into a particular play style, specifically for any of you who did play Soaring Spite before, or like your mechanized lists, or just want to be able to advance and shoot and move and spread right across the board. That is your play style. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I pretty much agree, actually. I think it benefits a certain type of build. For me, it's more mechanized type lists. It helps you be more survivable in that first turn of the game. For me, I view it as Soaring Spite with a little bit of a defensive bonus. So I've got almost Soaring Spite where I can just go out and pretty much shoot regardless of what I've done in the movement phase. With the benefit that at range, I've just got a little bit more extra protection.
No, it is a really, really good one. And like while we're at it as well, because it's already in laid out that way in the book, should we look at the rest of the light saedath as well?
So let's have a look at the warlord traits. Player of the light. This warlord is eligible to perform a heroic intervention if it is within 6 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of any enemy unit, instead of 3 and 5 vertically. Each time the warlord makes a heroic intervention move, it can move up to 6 inches. All other rules for heroic intervention still apply. That's the first point. The second point, each time this warlord fights, if it made a charge move or performed a heroic intervention this turn, then until the fight is resolved, add 1 to the strength and attacks characteristics of this warlord.
Pretty tasty, right? I actually think that was a fantastic one. It really leads into that kind of idea of like, oh, you charged my unit, but well, now you're gonna have to deal with my warlord as well, and he's tooled up to the max. So good luck with that one.
Warlord, the warlord, or troop master in this is a beast now, a true beast. So getting that extra strength to put them at to strength 4 base, and when you see some of the bonuses and the weapons you get later as well, actually that's a nice buff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And extra attack as well. Yep.
Yeah, so you're not losing out if you're not picking something like Twilight, for example, which we are going to move on to in a moment. But yeah, just having the extra attack and the extra strength. I mean, mixed with some of the relics that we have now as well, it's pretty tasty. So I think it's pretty strong actually as a warlord trait.
Yeah, I really like it. Let's talk about the relic then, the Shadow Stone. This is for light Shadow Seer models only. Add 3 inches to the range of the bearer's aura abilities to a maximum of 9 inches.
Yeah. So this is the classic from the White Dwarf. It's a really powerful relic, but it is now limited to light. So if you want those defensive bonuses, if you want to stack those defensive bonuses, then light is basically going to be exactly the kind of place that you want to be looking at, because you've got not only the Shadow Stone to really get those extra defensive buffs from the Shadow Seer, you've also got the mitigation of the hit roll, and with the Warlord trait it's a bit more aggressive, but that kind of balances it out a bit as a mask. Yeah,
this has light down. It's definitely the fast defensive army.
Yeah. No, it's I'd say it's definitely an interesting one, and it's got an associated stratagem as well, right, Wes?
Yeah, it's called Capricious Reflections. Use this stratagem in your opponent's charge phase when a light unit from your army is selected as the target of a charge. If that unit is not within engagement range of any enemy units, it can make a normal move up to 6 inches. Until the end of that phase, that unit cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend. Your opponent can select new targets for that charge.
Really powerful. In the right situation, I mean, that is a game-changing stratagem.
Yeah, because for several reasons, we're not affected by being restricted by terrain, so you can pop by into terrain. If there's an objective nearby, you can actually use that to pop on the objective. Or you can potentially drag them closer to your troop master, so that he can then heroically intervene.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, fantastic. Or like just completely waste the charge. Do you know what I mean? Like if there are no other eligible targets and that kind of thing, and you've got this big blob of, I don't know, something like I'm thinking a bit old school, but maybe berserkers or of tooled up melee units that really wants to sort of make that charge in, you're wasting their ability for an entire turn.
Yeah,
that's it. So it's really powerful.
Yeah, I really like that one. So overall, I think personally, Light's my favourite. I think other ones are, as we come on to that shortly, a bit more combat based. But I like the mechanized. I like lots of Star Weavers and stuff and Sky Weavers. So this kind of fits my play style, I think.
It is a fantastic one. I'm still not sure if that's the one that I'm going to go for, but I have been considering going back to it again with a slightly different list and sort of thinking about what I'm going to do with it. I'll admit, I feel like I need more stuff basically in order to be able to run it as effectively as I would like to.
Yeah, what I really like against this is if you play something like Custodes, they're hitting on 2s, they're now hitting on 4s. That's a dramatic skew in their ability to fight.
Absolutely, and given that Custodes and Tau right now in the meta are so strong, both are very, very powerful shooting armies in many ways. So mitigating that damage output from them in turns 1 and 2 at least is really powerful.
Yeah, totally agree. Cool. So you talk about dark rather. It's late here. It's been a long day. Characterization of dark deeds. So the first point: each time a model with characterization is destroyed in a melee attack, if that model has not fought this phase, do not remove it from playing. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks and is then removed from play.
Yeah, pretty good.
Each time a model with this characterization makes a melee attack, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1.
Yeah. These are weird in some ways because you've kind of got your more offensive melee bonus and you've got your more defensive melee bonus. I guess areas where it kind of like it really comes into play is against fight last abilities. which we are seeing a lot more of in terms of things like Howling Banshees, and the Drukhari have access to these sort of things. So that's where it really tends to shine, I think. What about you? What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing for this one, isn't it? Like with those lots of those abilities flying around at the minute, your chance of going, you can charge me, you can fight me, but you're going to probably die too.
Yeah, it's I'll take you with me, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like it leans interestingly. I think it leans very much into a kind of a troop heavy list with this one.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're going for larger troops or smaller troops doesn't really matter, but I would say troop and bike is kind of the direction that I would go with this one.
Yeah, totally. And the second part, really, that armor penetration characteristic, I think that's huge. Especially when we get into some of the stratagems of fighting with caresses and stuff. That makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Particularly with so many armies now have these ignore AP bonuses. It's like, well, can you ignore AP -3? Probably not.
Yeah. I guess we'll get on to that a little bit more when we start talking about the actual weapons themselves, but bear that one in mind for when we chat later. So the Warlord trait that goes along with that is the Play of the Dark. Each time this Warlord makes a melee attack on an unmodified wound roll of a 5, the target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage.
It's all right. I think it's a nice additional bit of damage.
Yep.
It's an improvement on the last one, which was on 6s, right?
Yeah, a third of your attacks are going to cause an extra mortal wound, so 2 mortal wounds per fight, really.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, you can use it more effectively if you add a particular relic that we'll talk about later to that one. But it's a nice bonus in comparison to a lot of the other Warlord traits, though. I'm not sure I would necessarily take it.
No, it's not my favourite. So let's talk about the Ghoul Mask. That's dark model only. In your opponent's psychic phase, the bearer can attempt to deny 1 psychic power as if it was a psyker. If the bearer is a psyker, the bearer can attempt to deny 1 additional psychic power in each of your opponent's psychic phases. Second point, the bearer has the following ability. Hideous Form. It's an aura. While an enemy unit is within 3 inches of this model, that unit loses the objective secured ability.
So good.
That's right, isn't it?
So good. That second part mostly is the first bit's like, all right, but then when you go on to the second part, it's like, oh, that is pretty good.
so that was my reaction when I read this for the first time. I was like, yeah, it's all right. Oh. That's good.
Oh. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, imagine you've got this big blob of whatever, right? You've got all of these different units now that can count as objective secured or whatever else. So, well, you don't have that anymore, and all I've got is 1 player left, but he has objective secured. So, yeah, that's it. Really, really powerful when used correctly.
So I think the Ghoul Mask with just that part would have been good enough. So to have that psychic deny thing on top of that, that's just extra sauce, really, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Cool. The stratagem that goes along with that is the Silken Knife. It's use a stratagem at the start of the charge phase. Select 1 enemy unit until the end of that phase. Each time that enemy unit is selected as a target of a charge by a dark unit, the enemy cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend.
Very nice, useful for us. Particularly because we now have multiple ways of doing that. So against things like Town Custodians, it can be quite useful. Against anything with Flamers, which we really struggle with as well. I mean, I remember the days of 8th edition Overwatch, and it was basically just a case of, oh no, I'm probably not actually even going to get into combat. Nowadays, it's a little bit more situational, I would say, but there are some situations where you really want this because otherwise you're probably coming in with almost nothing.
Yeah, it's not a power. It's just it's 1 CP. You can't Overwatch me.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a good one. It's not like it can be game changing depending on who your opponent is, but it's one of those rock paper scissors ones where you kind of think, yeah, against this army that is amazing. Against this army, don't really need it, but whatever.
Yeah. Totally. Okay, let's go on to the Twilight then. So Twilight Falls. The first point, each time this unit with its characterization fights, if it has made a charge move, was charged, or performed heroic intervention in this turn, Until that fight is resolved, add 1 to attacks characteristics of the models in that unit. Second point, each time a model with its characterization makes a pile-in or consolidation move, it can move an additional 2 inches.
I really like this one. And it's not just because it's kind of a weird blend of Midnight Sorrow and Frozen Stars, which is kind of what I wanted. The extra attack is lovely. It's really, really good. It's not like, good in melee or anything. Adding an extra attack and having 5 attacks on each troop and bike is pretty potent. But the movement aspect of it is something that I played, because I played this mask yesterday, actually, and I found that the extra piling and consolidation for essentially 10 inches of extra movement is phenomenal. Is really good.
Yeah. You with the right position, you can really get guys in. Well, you can do the whole string out thing, and you can tag into other units afterwards and stuff as well. There's some really good tricks that's come out of this one.
Well, this was kind of how I played it yesterday as well, and also it's just things like it's if you've got a unit, like a unit of troops or something coming in, and you basically destroyed the unit, and you have like something like a lone. Well, this is what I did yesterday. Lone Riptide basically on an objective. You're basically then moving over onto that objective because you're consolidating, and then you've basically stolen that objective from him for the next turn. So I found it's kind of a bit tricky to use in some ways because obviously you are having to go towards the closest enemy unit, but actually when you've got multiple units going all across the board, it's really powerful. And the tagging aspect as well, as you say, Wes, is like, oh, okay, well, you now have to fall back. You can't shoot me.
And there's stuff to be done if they fall back as well. So yeah, some really cool stuff on that one. I think for me. Yeah, I think this is the connoisseur's choice. I think this is the one where when you get some high skill level, then this is probably one to go for. So Warlord trait, player of the Twilight. 2 points to this. While the Warlord is on the battlefield, each time your opponent spends any command points to use this on a stratagem, you can roll a d6. For each command point spent on a 6, you gain 1 command point. While this Warlord is on the battlefield, each time you roll 4 or more dice on the Luck of the Laughing God roll, you gain 1 command point.
So this is what we were talking about with the roles of the Luck of the Laughing God, is this particular Warlord trait. I used it yesterday. I like it. I am terrible at rolling 6s. I'm just going to put that one out there. I did not get a single command point back from rolling the 6s. So I was sort of thinking that by turn 2, like, why have I got this Warlord trait? And then, coming into turns 3 and 4, actually I started using the risk on the Luck of the Laughing God to get that 1 CP for very specific reasons. So mostly it's to do with getting primaries. This is to do with certain stratagems that we have that we also share with the Eldari. I'll just talk about it quickly, actually, just because that is one that I do think is very associated with this one. If you take something like mental interrogation, which is what I like to play sometimes on my Shadow Seers, you can, for 1 CP, still do the psychic action and then also cast another power. And so I was saving it for the later turns, basically just for this particular stratagem, so that I could still be using, defensive buffs and everything on my Shadow Seers, while also still managing to do the psychic actions. And that was kind of what I found it really useful for. Yeah,
I really like this one. The first part there, rolling a 6 every time you or your opponent does a stratagem. I've never really got anything back for that, but you just may. But that ability there of rolling 4 dice, it could be a really big swing for you. You could get 4 extra luck rerolls. Yeah. Probably not, but you could do. But you're going to get that CP back as well. And exactly. The first time that happens, and I wish I could record my opponent's face to say that only if I got 4 extra rerolls gone here, I've got CP.
When it happens to be, I'll take a picture and just send it to you, Wes, and you'll just know because it's me going.
Yeah.
But we'll see if it ever happens for me, because Kagor occasionally smiles on me, but he does not like me getting CP back apparently. So we'll see.
Cool. Should we talk about the relic?
Yep.
It's the Twilight Fang. This is pretty much what we had before. We had it before, didn't we? It came in the Psychic Awakening supplement we got in White Dwarf. Troop Masters only, with an Eldari Power Sword. The relic replaces that's power sword. You gain +2 strength, -3 AP, 2D. For each time the bearer fights, until the fight is resolved, add the current battle round number to the attacks characteristics of the bearer.
I love it still. I still like it. Even it isn't as good as it was before when we had full rerolls and everything. We'll move on to that one a little bit later. But it is, I mean, by turn 5, if your Troop Master's still on the table, which you would hope, because he's your Warlord, so you want to be protecting him a little bit, you can bide your time, and even by turn 3, with the additional attack from the charge anyway from Twilight, and then by turn 3, you had 3 additional attacks. I mean, you're already on 10 attacks with your Warlord, and then the other buffs that you give as well. It's intense.
Well, because he's 6 attacks bases and he gets +1 for being Twilight, and then +1 for this as well. So you're getting 8 attacks on turn 1.
Exactly. Yeah.
Strength 5 -3, 2 damage. Getting on 2.
It is very, very good. It's not. It's exactly the same wording basically as the last time. So the wording itself has been edited a bit to make it a bit simpler, but it's the exact same weapon. But it is locked now into Twilight, just like the Shadow Stone is into Light. But honestly, that's kind of the one that I think you would want to play this in. If you're going to use the Twilight Fang, you're going to use it in this mask now. In the saedath now.
Yeah, because turn 5, 12 attacks, Yeah.
You're on,
I don't think you need to say much more, really, do you?
Not really, no. Exactly.
But there's more. You can add more stuff onto that as well to make it even more crazy. But we'll chat about that later.
Absolutely.
So the stratagem for this is Malicious Frenzy. Use a stratagem when the Twilight unit from your army is selected to fight. Each time the model in that unit makes an attack, and a modified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target.
Yeah, I actually really like this one. I really like this one because it moves us. I mean, it is already a melee-based mask. We are already looking for that. And also, because of a certain change, which we are about to discuss actually almost next, having the wounds essentially coming from the hit rolls, I think is actually really potent, and I think it's kind of necessary. For if it depends on your target, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say it helps you, particularly when you're looking at a target that you really do struggle to wound with your lower strength weapons.
Yeah, so you think so, if you're going for a 12-man unit of Harlequins with 6 attacks each, 72 attacks, and so you're gonna roll some 6s there, gonna go straight through, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's things like this. Even if you've tooled up everything as well, with all of your bonuses, and you've basically got your general weapons, and you've got your 5 attacks or something on the charge. You are looking at a fair amount of 6s, and you can still also buff those wound rolls as well. So if you're doing that in addition, you're just basically just mitigating some of the randomness, and that really helps against monsters or anything larger where you're sort of going, but I'm wounding on 5s, but at the same time, all my hits that are 6s are basically going to straight away wound anyway. So it just gives that little bit more reliability, I would say, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that's the saedaths. That's what you're getting there, the Light, Dark, and Twilight. I think personally, they're only better than what we had before. Some things have been locked into certain saedaths, but actually, I don't think any of them are bad.
Nope. I'd say this is the first time that obviously I've only been playing since 8th edition. I don't remember what 7th edition was like with the Harlequins because I
hard
in 8th. Yeah, but with the masks and everything that we had in 8th edition, they were just never seen, and that was kind of a bit sad because they had so much lore and so many beautiful things about them, but at the same time, this has consolidated everything into, you can have your grand mask. If you've got your Veiled Path, beautiful army, all painted up and everything, so you're still Veiled Path, but just choose one of these 3. And, you can do something that might be a little bit more lore-based as well, make it more narrative if you feel like it.
Yeah, I think we've really lucked in here to get this sort of setup rather than be locked into masks. I'm 100% behind this.
Yeah, we only really saw competitively either Frozen Stars, True Spam, or Sword and Spike Fusion Spam. Yeah, and quite frankly, I think with all three of these, I can see all three of these being used. Right.
Yeah, there's really no reason not to take any of those.
Exactly. Right, what are we moving on to next, Wes? Psychic powers?
Psychic powers.
So
So
they are quite nice now.
they're all right, aren't they? They're a bit of all right.
Yeah.
Just gonna move my lights.
Yep.
Cool. So the Phantasmancy discipline. The names are still the same, but they've got better, I think.
Exactly.
So the first
one, Phantasmancy about 100 times, and then you're gonna. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. Anyway, yep.
So Twilight Pathways. This is the one that has had a little bit of a nerf, but I think it's the way the whole game's going. So I think it's only to be expected.
Yeah,
it's Blessing Twilight. Twilight Pathways has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select one friendly saedath core or saedath character unit within 6 inches of this psyker. That unit can immediately make a normal move, advanced move, or fall back as if it was your movement phase. If it does so, that unit is not added draw to declare a charge this turn.
Yeah, it's that last bit that is the change. We cannot double move and charge anymore, but then no one else can either. So quite honestly, it's kind of fair. I
think it's really useful if you want to get a unit somewhere to perform some sort of action or some sort of secondary objective. Exactly. It's great. We're really fast.
It's still good. I mean, our movement is amazing anyway. So
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Next one, Fog of Dreams. It's a blessing. Fog of Dreams has a warp charge value of 6. If manifest, select one friendly saedath core or character unit within 12 of the psyker until the start of your next psychic phase, and that unit can only be selected as a target of a range attack if it's the closest eligible target for that attack or within 12 inches of the shooting model.
Exactly. So this is again, we're getting a few of these, lights and then some of the psychic powers as well. It's about damage mitigation, but there is the caveat of you have to be far away from us, basically. It does make it fair because otherwise you're just saying, nope, can't target that at all, which would be a little bit broken. The 12 inches is, however, still pretty good. I'd say that was.
Yeah, so you think about things like the other half of the book we've got at the minute, things like Night Spinner sitting at the back of the table. They can't touch you.
Yep,
can't touch us.
Sorry.
Yep. So yeah, I think that's a great one. It's one that I select most of the time.
Yep, I've been playing it ever since it got leaked, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, from my perspective, we've got a lot of damage output, but actually trying to make yourself more survivable in any particular way is the best. Cool. Next one's Mirror of Minds. Witchfire. Mirror of Minds has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 of the psyker. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds and then roll off with your opponent. If you win or draw that roll off, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound. Repeat the roll off into the process. Roll off process until that enemy has suffered 6 mortal wounds. That enemy unit is destroyed, or your opponent wins a roll off.
It's nice. It's a buff on the last time. It's basically here's your smite damage of D3 mortal wounds, and then we do the roll off. So it's quite. I like it. I think it's an interesting one. It's still very, very swingy. Depends on how lucky you're feeling. But if you think about it, it's just like, well, am I going to do a smite or am I going to do a targeted smite? And then on top of that, I can still, potentially win more mortal wounds. So I quite like it. It's definitely better than it was.
Yeah, there's an aggregation of gains in terms of mortal wound output, and this is one of those things. The nice addition of getting the instant D3.
Yeah.
And capping out at 6, I think, is about right, because I have got really lucky on this before and put lots of wounds on people, and there's a little bit of bad feel. So I think when you get to that 6, that's about right.
I did 6 wounds with it yesterday, and that was quite fun on a Riptide, I think. And then unfortunately, he had a 5-up feels no pain and seems to be rolling those like crazy. But it was still like I was looking at it and going, wow, the output of this is actually significantly better than it was before. Because before it was like, yeah, I just spent a psychic power to basically just lose a roll off, and now I've got nothing from it. Great.
Yeah.
Whilst this is.
Yeah, totally. So next one's Veil of Tears. It's a malediction. Veil of Tears has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 and visible to the psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, models in that unit cannot target saedath units from your army that are more than 18 inches away with range attacks.
Yeah. 18 inches is a pretty big distance. But just like you were saying earlier, Wes, with something like your night spinners in the backfield or some kind of artillery things, this is still a very potent buff. It's like everything outside of 18 inches, basically, you can't target. Yeah. So you want to be using your 48-inch range or 72-inch range gun to like fire me across the board. Nope, sorry.
Not today.
Yeah, not today. So I think it's an interesting one. The only thing, and I think Chef mentioned it actually because I did watch through his video too, is that you're basically putting your Shadow Seer directly into the 18 inches in order to do this. So it's it could be a bit of a sacrificial one if you're not careful with it, I think.
Yeah, just use battle focus.
I mean, but it's an interesting one. Yeah, I like it. I do like it. What do you think about this one, Wes?
You could do that and tag it in with Twilight pathways.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually thought of that one, so that's quite a good combo. I think I might do that next time.
Yeah. So if you want to do this, then yeah, that's one option of doing that.
Yeah, quite like that actually. I'm going to try that one next time. That feels very Harlequin as well. It's just like, aha, now you cannot do this and bye.
Yeah, because if it's an advanced as well, that's a minimum of 9 inches that you're going there. So anywhere between 9 and 15. So yeah, you can't really 14. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good combo. Next one, Shards of Light. It's a Witchfire. Shards of Light has a warp charge value of 6 if manifested. Select one enemy unit within 18 and visible to the Psyker. That enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If it is a vehicle or a monster unit, or a unit that contains 6 or more models, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. Until the start of your next psychic phase, subtract 2 from the leadership characteristic of models in that enemy unit.
It's alright. It's it can be nice, with a little bit of extra targeting and things like this. When coupled with a couple of things, it's quite nice. It's one of the only ways now that we can mitigate or alter leadership, right? Because I haven't really seen that many of those, and we used to have masses of those. But
yeah. So I used to use a similar combo to this in 7th edition, and it works well with that and the Death Jester.
Yeah.
So exactly. It's a good
it does
to get people to fail their checks.
Yeah, it's useful. Again, it's kind of like it's a combo thing that only works against certain units. Particularly with morale, it's always like that, right? I mean, with morale, you just never know if it's going to actually be, particularly effective or if it's going to be completely useless. But there are different combos that we can do that can force these kind of morale checks and also can stop things like Insane Bravery. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, so with large units, if you're playing against a large unit, this could be pretty deadly with a Death Jester.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
And the final one is Webway Dance. It's an aura ability. It's a blessing. Webway Dance has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested until the start of your next Psyker phase, the Psyker gains the following ability: Webway Dance. Aura. While friendly saedath unit is within 6 of the fast of the Psyker, each time a model in that unit would lose a wound on a d6. Roll a d6 on a 6. That wound is not lost.
It's exactly the same as it was.
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't think it's really my take unless you're, doing triple Shadow Seer or something. I don't think I would be doing this.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen that on a 5-up. Feel No Pain.
Because there are other ways of getting Feel No Pain rolls, and this one feels then weaker as a result. So you kind of feel like you're hamstringing yourself with it in some ways a little bit. It's okay.
So overall, I think in the Phantasmancy discipline, we've got 4 really good ones. I think we've got 1 good one and 1 that's situationally all right.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'd agree. But it is interesting how much damage mitigation we have in there, and then when you do couple it with things like the Light Saedath, which I think is going to be a very popular play. But even if you don't, there's enough defensive buffs in our psychic abilities that you don't feel like you're completely missing out on the durability if you don't take Light. I think that's quite good.
Yeah, you can really double down on durability with this codex, that's for sure. Cool. Should we get into the proper meat and potatoes and talk some data sheets?
Yeah, definitely. Not a huge amount of changes though, I will say. There's some nice tasty ones, One like it's sort of like when we're just looking at the data sheets themselves. What is your takeaway with this one? Wes?
So I think the key thing to think about with this is actually, I think our data sheets, for the most part of the old codex, were pretty good. So I think we only need a tweak in certain areas, and I think you'll find that we've just got a tweak in certain areas really. So just to make, a little bit, and that's what you'll see is a little bit here, a little bit there to make actually, I think, maybe a little bit biased. So I think there's no auto takes. There's nothing that you can't take in this these data sheets. I think everything has its place.
Yeah, finally, because honestly, that was the thing, wasn't it? Yeah, you might have taken a Death Jester before. Now I'm like, do I want 1, 2, or 3? I'm not really sure, but I might actually go for all 3. Or you might have just said, well, you know what, I don't really need the Solitaire, or I don't need like several Troop Masters. You're pushed into kind of like having to genuinely think, what do I actually want? Because everything is good. Like everything is now actually playable, I'd say.
Yeah, like Solitaire. I remember reading some of the rules and people going, the Solitaire's, no, whatever. Like, Solitaire's good.
Yeah. Someone said what was it? Someone said he hits like a damp potato or something. It was like a soggy potato. I was like, yeah, maybe loaded with dynamite. Like, I mean, this thing is amazing, actually. But okay, so let's look at some of it. There is a nerf in there. It is a big one for us. We might as well get it out of the way. The Troop Master, first of all.
Yeah, so let's have a look at that. So it's the choreographer war. That's the change there, isn't it? So get to re-roll all of our wound rolls. Now we just get to re-roll ones.
Yeah, and it's on core, isn't it, Wes?
It is, yeah. So while a friendly Harlequin's core unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time an attack is made by that model in that unit, re-roll a wound roll of 1.
So no more re-rolling for your own character, no more re-rolling for himself. I think someone has shown that actually the troops don't have core yet, so we're going to have to hope that they fix that one.
I was just going to mention, I'm pretty sure you quite comfortably play the troops as having core, because...
I feel like that was a bit of a typo there. I
think so, yeah.
I mean, otherwise you're going to be seeing units of like only 18 bikes, and because they are basically the only thing that can re-roll the ones, but it should really be on the troops, and I think you can get away with that one. Right?
So while this may feel like a nerf, it is, but our weapons have got better. Yep. So our combat weapons are better. So I think had this been re-rolls and everything, it'd be too good.
Yes, it would. It would. It's a shame in some ways because you think, but that was so good, but at the same time, as Wes says, like we do have a significant improvement to our weapons, and the only thing that we do need to think about now, I'd say, is that we have to be a bit more careful about targeting in terms of this is the unit that can actually deal with this. This isn't a unit that can deal with that anymore. I used to be able to take down knights with just massed melee weapons because it was like, I just re-roll everything all the time, so whatever.
So I think T4, T5, you're still pretty good. When you start going into T6, T7 plus, then that's where this really starts to be less effective than old. But I think we have better things to deal with those things. So on the whole, I think what I really like about this change is that I don't feel like I have to have Troop Masters next to all my units now. So I just run one Troop Master, and he goes off and beats batshit crazy, just beats things up, and I don't feel he has to babysit my other units.
Yeah, I know what you mean with that one. I still quite like the reroll on it, just because despite the fact that it is only ones, I do like to have that reroll ones because I'm very good at rolling them. So it is, it's great with that. And also, as I said, with the Malicious Frenzy with Twilight, I like having both of those things because then it's like, right, well, my 6 is already wound, and then out of everything that I roll afterwards, all of my 1s I still get to reroll. So that's kind of where you do start to look a little bit at like, okay, for 1 CP, I'm almost getting not quite the same level of effectiveness, but potentially quite a high one. So that's why I like that combinations, in Twilight, because otherwise this is a nerf, and it's a very obvious nerf, and it is a big one, but it is a fair one. Otherwise, it would be just insane. And I don't want us to be like, everyone going like, no, Harlequins, they're terrible, because I don't like playing against you anymore, because that would be, that would suck, basically.
We've got to have some chance of having friends, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He did get an extra attack though. That troop
He
master.
did. I was just about to say, yeah, he's gone up to 6 attacks now at base, which is a nice little bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, 7 attacks with Twilight. So.
Yep.
Yep. Or 8 attacks if you start using all these other things. I mean, it does add up.
Yeah, because it really stands out as well. Because I think most characters kind of have like 5 attacks.
Yeah.
So it's an acknowledgement that this is a super fighty unit, which is cool.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well,
should we run through the weapon changes?
We could do, but there are a couple of other extra attacks that we have been thrown in there. So our bikes now do actually have an extra additional attacks. They are on par with the troop, which is nice because before it was like, why is he on top of a bike if he's getting 1 less attack? And then you've also got the Shadow Seer, I think, also up to
4 attacks. And the Death Chester as well has got 5 attacks.
Yeah, which is actually really good for a sniper. Like, yeah. He's also got his own weapon profile now for melee, right? It's +1, -1.
Jester's blade, which is nice, because that's such a cool looking model and weapon. Yeah. Like, I know you're not a fan of Death Jesters, so you probably won't appreciate that.
No, not cool. Actually, I still need to get the official model because I've been just making like loads of kit bashed ones, and I still want the official one because it's just my favorite thing in the world. And also, with that great scything blade, just like beating through troops. I had 2 Death Jesters just basically punch a bunch of breaches to death yesterday to get me the objective. So that was really cool, actually.
That's cool. So we've got should we run through the weapon profiles because then they
let's go for it.
Really insane. So got the fusion pistol. It's gone in line with the Eldari one. Now you don't have to be within half range to get the bonus. So it's 6 inches. It's pistol 1, strength 8, -4, and it's D6 +2 damage.
Yep. It's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not having to get within 3 inches to get the full bonus of it. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
They still completely fail me every single time. So I actually have them now. Yeah. Everyone, like, by the way, with me for 2 years solid saying like I hate fusion pistols. I still hate them. I have them, but I still hate them. It never works for me.
What'd be really nice is if you didn't have to roll to wound on something. And this is where the Neuropistol comes in, because there's a great change with this. So you never saw Neuropistols. Occasionally I'll take them just to be just a little bit different. Just being hipster. But now Neuropistols are 12-inch range. They're pistol 1. Strength 6, -3, and 1 damage. That's pretty solid thing for a pistol, really, isn't it? But this ability, each time an attack is made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, unless the target is a vehicle unit, the target suffers 1 mortal wound and the attack sequence ends.
It's phenomenal. Honestly, I'm spamming Neuro Disruptors as much as possible right now because they're so good. It's really, really nice.
So it's just really cool. You just hit and you do a mortal wound. Done.
Yep, exactly. And you don't want to be targeting vehicles with it, but monsters, fair game, And like, think about, I mean, I'm looking at stuff like Ghost Keels and, Riptides and all this kind of stuff where you're going to struggle to beat it up with your melee weapons sometimes, but you just go, okay, mortal wound, mortal wound, mortal wound, and you're shooting phase, and eventually that adds up,
Yeah, because I know lots of people don't upset about the fact they've lost their ability to take lots of fusion pistols, but actually I think this is probably, it gives you a good balance. Yeah.
I like it better, actually. I actually prefer it because with the Neuro, it's just like, 3 up, mortal wound. 3 up, mortal wound. My issue with the fusion pistol was just like, okay, so it's 3 up, and then whatever the strength is, so usually the target that you're looking at is going to be wounding on 3s or 4s. I just don't ever manage it. I mean, I had 3 out of 4 fusion pistols missed yesterday, and then I managed to get one wound, and I rolled a 1 on the damage, so it's 3 damage. There's just too many different variables for me to actually declare it actually consistent.
Yeah, and on the Troop Master, you just need to roll a 2.
Yep. Mortal wound.
Yep. Cool. So there we go. Talk about that one. Shuriken pistols, slight change on this. 12-inch range, pistol 1. Strength 4, they're now a -1 AP, which is just a nice little buff there. 1 damage, shuriken, and a shuriken just means on a roll of 6 you get an extra 2 AP.
Yep. So still a -3. It's basically the same thing, but you got your -1 on it already, which is a really nice change, actually.
Yep. Then you got Eldari Power Swords, which has been in line with everything else. So it's a +1, -3, 1 damage.
Yeah.
And then this is where some changes have happened. So Harlequin's Blade is now Strength User, -1, 1 damage. And each time the bearer fights, it makes 1 additional attack with this weapon.
Yeah. I can see this one being like quite a popular one now in troops of like, if you want to activate those associated stratagems that we're going to look into in a moment, just having the additional hits and then basically being able to, get as many weight of dice rolls as possible is quite a nice one. And then again, if you've got Twilight, then you're talking a lot of attacks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if you're talking dark, they're at -2 AP as well, so.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nothing to smirk at. I mean, the strength of 3 is still not great, but, I had to do a bit of damage.
Yep. And then we'll go into the other bits then. So you've got the Harlequin's Kiss, Embrace, and Caress. They all now have the same layouts. So they're all +1 strength. They're all -2 damage. And they're all -2 AP. So essentially now those 3 weapons are what Zephyr Glaives used to be.
Yeah, basically. So they're pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I do think it is a genuine buff. I know that a lot of people will be like, no, we don't have any strength 5 weaponry anymore on the troops. And it's kind of like, no. And then when people saw the choreographer of war thing as well, they were like, oh my god, we're never going to be able to moon anything ever. It's like, but yeah, if you have enough dice in there and you're still re-rolling the ones, it does a lot of damage.
Yeah, I've done the math on it, and they still work out better than Caresses used to. So, yeah.
I like
really
it. Yeah. The only issue is that I think they're weird because of what we're about to look at next with them, which is they gain a keyword.
Yeah, so it's called. So there's Troop Master's weapons, but it's the same for the troops as well. If this model is equipped with a Harlequin's Kiss, then it has that Harlequin's Kiss keyword. If this model is equipped with a Harlequin's Caress, it gains the Caress keyword, and the same with the Embrace, it gains the Harlequin's Embrace keyword.
I still think it's weird. I'm not really on board with this necessarily, but it is effective in game. I don't understand why you need a stratagem to activate something. It does make it easier to mix up your troops in terms of modeling and stuff.
So this I'm similar agreement. I like the effects. I think the effects that you get from the stratagems are like spot on, and they're pretty much what these kind of do. My only reflection on this afterwards is that I almost wish, rather than having the 3 different weapons, they just call it the Harlequin's weapons if they were to go down this route, and then it doesn't matter how you've done them. You can then just play off the stratagems, those sort of things. I think, but a tidier way to do it rather than this way.
No, I'd agree with you there. If they're going to streamline, you might as well streamline. On the other hand, it's still nice. It's an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah.
I still think it's a weird way of doing it personally, because why do you need stratagems to be able to activate weapons? But okay, the base profile I think is great. Actually, I've actually just half the time I'm not even using the weapon strats. I have to say, I just like having that little bit of extra.
So people used to spam bikes because that +1, -2 damage was really good. So people used to spam it, and now that is what we've got as our core weapons. So it's only like that core weapon is really good. Like you're just saying there, I see the stratagems as being really nice little bonuses to use at situationally the right time.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's run through those stratagems though quickly, just because we are on the weapons. So the first one is the Kiss. These were previewed by Games Workshop already, so I'd say we run through them quite quickly, whereas because most people will have already seen them who are interested. So essentially, the Kiss is 1 CP, and on wound rolls of a 6, you gain an additional mortal wound.
Yep.
Not bad.
Up to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds, isn't it?
Up to a maximum of 6, but it's nice. It's mortal wounds in addition, always nice.
And when you're throwing that many attacks out there, you're bound to roll a few there. So aggregation of mortal wounds gains, it's good.
Exactly. So it's good. Then the Embrace is a little bit weirder, but I can see with larger troops it having quite a lot of play as well, because it's also the only one that you can combine with the other 2, because you can't use the Kiss and the Caress one in the same phase, right?
Yeah. So I've actually got the wording here. Have you got the wording there, actually?
No, I don't, but it is. I think it's. Yeah, let me have a look. Or have you got it there?
Just give it 2 seconds. So the Deadly Embrace. Use the stratagem after Harlequin's Embraced unit from your army makes a charge move or performs a heroic intervention, select one enemy unit within engagement range of that unit and roll 1d6 for each model in that Harlequin's Embrace unit. On a roll of a 4+, that enemy suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6.
Yeah. I actually think in some ways it's more reliable because you've got it on 4+, and if you've got large troops of like 10 or 12, there's a lot of chances of that. I mean, statistically, if you've got a unit of 12, you're doing all 6 mortal wounds. Yeah. Okay.
So it harks back to like the 7th edition Harlequins, where it's kind of like a Hammer Wrath thing where they go in there on a 4+ do mortal wounds. So if you've got a unit of 12, statistically you're going to max out on that the 6 mortal wounds before you even do anything. So if you've got fights last stuff, that's wounds that's going in before then as well.
It's tasty. And then also if you can combine that one, because the only one you can combine, if you add the Kiss one on top of that, you got quite a significant amount of mortal wound output.
Yeah.
That's without any of your actual attacks landing, essentially, or any of the additional damage that you're doing with your special weapons. It's not bad.
And toughness is irrelevant as well. So if you're going to get some really tough units there, then you're going to put some. You're probably going to, if you've got a unit of 6 there, you're probably going to take down at least 1 custody before you've done anything.
Yeah, exactly. Very nice. Yep. And then the last one is the Caress, which is very potent. Yeah.
2 CP and you ignore vulnerable saves.
I mean, wow. Against certain armies anyway. Against some armies, it's like, well, this is next to useless. But again,
against Harlequins, it's really good.
It is. So if you're in that mirror matchup, then it's like, Caresses, okay, well. It is tasty. Also just for, I mean, there are a lot of invulnerable saves actually in the game at the moment, and you got those, the storm shields giving you the invuln saves, or the crisis suits now with their 4+ invulnerable saves. It's like you don't get that anymore.
Yeah. And then when you tag that as well with the dark as well, where they're getting that additional minus to their AP as well. So the AP -3. So essentially got damage 2 power swords. Ignoring vulnerable saves. That just kind of kicks some butt.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the crisis suits love this. You go, well, I've just paid and I've replaced one of my weapons with this, and I've got the shield drones and all the rest of it. And you go, yeah, but you don't have any of that anymore. So you just, you could have had an extra weapon, quite honestly, because now it's useless to you. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, really, really, really cool. I like the output of these things. It's a little bit different. I guess it just takes a little bit getting used to, really. But I think the core stat of those 3 weapons is just really cool. So I think for me, I'm generally going to be running squads of maybe the power sword with the. So talk about troops now, but maybe a power sword and then 2 kisses, a caress, and embrace. That's going to kind of be my core pick, really.
Oh, absolutely. And also, we did forget to mention, so our troops do have lead players now, so we get an additional wound on those, and they, for some reason, take a power sword, but then no one else can. So, again, it's kind of like the out-of-the-box thing, which is, I guess, something we should mention, is that you can only ever equip your unit out of the box. So, you can have as many kisses or as many blades as you like, but you can only have 2 caress, 2 embrace, 2 fusion pistols, 2 neurodisruptors, unless you're running 11 or more, so 11 or 12 troops, and then you can double up on those choices.
Yeah. I think some people were upset because they thought some people had gone out the sword spike thing and just got everything a fusion pistol.
Yeah.
But for new people getting in, which is what we talked about earlier, getting people into Harlequins, I think it's fantastic because what you can get in the box, you can make really effective units out of it.
I kind of wish they'd done this originally so that we wouldn't have the upset anyway, because yes, I can understand people have wanted to go the sort of route. Oh, right, that was.
Yep, dying.
So if you have done that, it is going to be frustrating because maybe you even bought third-party bits or converted bits to make extra fusion pistols and all the rest of it. You put the extra effort in. Buy 1 or 2 more boxes of troops and you're back up to normal, basically. Or just combine them, and then you've got your units of 10 and you've still got 4 fusion pistols in there.
So I actually made a load of just plain players with the Harlequin's blade and shuriken pistols. I just cut some of their hands off and replaced them with bits from my spares box. To be honest, it didn't take too long. So I just painted them up and just cut the hands off, put the pliers, filed it down, and just glued it on. It was not a problem at all.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit of a frustration for some, but in the end, this is kind of how it is. Like it or lump it, but basically that is how it is. If you were running fusion spam, I'm really sorry for you, but at the same time, it's not too much of an effort just to change things up a little bit again. And I do think it is better, as you say, for new players, whereas, and actually also for me, because I can't be bothered to be converting fusion pistols left, right, and center either. I never liked it, and I always kind of made my stuff out of the box anyway, regardless of the meta, because I felt like it's future-proofing. If you run only one thing and you spam it, you're very likely to get this treatment at some point. Doesn't matter what army you play. You run plasma spam and that suddenly gets FAQ'd, and then suddenly you go, oh, well, now I need a heavy bolter spam or whatever else. It's always going to happen. So I've always kind of thought,
It's probably a really good tip for when a new codex comes out. Some things, like some of the cream rises to the top, and people then spam 9 Void Weavers. 9 Void Weavers, if they're that good, probably won't stay that potent or points effective for too long. So
exactly. Which we could move on to actually soon, because now you might actually want to run 9 Void Weavers because they are phenomenal. Let's just quickly run through a couple of the other weapons changes. A lot of people have already seen them. So what would be next for us here, Wes? Actually, it is. Yeah, sorry. Yep.
Did you want to do Shadow Seer next?
Yeah, let's do Shadow Seer next.
So we spoke earlier. It's got an extra attack now, so it's 4 attacks. Pistols, no change. The hallucinogenic grenade launcher is a slight change in that. Rather than doing D3 damage, 1 attack, you get D3 attacks. And then each time an attack is made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, roll 2d6. If the result is greater than the leadership characteristic of the target suffers 1 mortal wound.
Yeah, it gives you more potential shots to basically do roughly the same thing as it did last time. I think it brings it in line with the Drukhari one, isn't it? It's exactly the same wording as that one.
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't think it's great. I think it was better before, and I actually really liked the hallucinogenic grenade launcher before. Now I'm just like, he's got one, so I kind of might as well shoot it, but I'm not really that fussed about it.
Yeah, you can give this guy a neuro pistol, but you can't fire both, and I just think for points efficiency, I just stick with that hallucinogenic grenade launcher.
Yeah, I mean, I do have one with a neuro disruptor now as well, just because I like them, and also because I'm trying to get as many of them as I can in my list now, because I do like this mortal wound, the mortal wounds. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, keep them cheap and cheerful, or just add a little bit of extra.
So it's got the neuro pistol, or you can go for the shuriken pistol, and then you got the mistave, which has had a bit of a change. It's now strength +3, so it's going to be strength 6 -1 and does D3 damage.
Yep. So additional strength basically, and he's got the extra attack. So it's not a bad kind of melee punchy unit. If you just need a little bit of extra damage, why not charge him in and just help with that? But most of the time, you're not going to want to fall back or something, so that unit better be dead for your next psychic phase, because you don't want to risk getting stuck into that.
Exactly. And then going on to its abilities, it's got the Harlequin's Penelope, Luck of the Laughing God, Rising Crescendo, and it's got Shield from Harm. Slight change on this. While friendly Harlequin's core or characters within 6 inches of this model, each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from the attack's wound roll.
Yeah. So I think it's better, because we don't need the CP now in order to be able to protect it. No, you can't protect the vehicles with it, but you know what? They probably don't need it, quite honestly. No. Yeah, so we're probably good there.
Yep, and then Psychic can manifest 2, and it can deny 1 each turn.
Exactly. And also, because it's an ability now, you don't need to replace it with a pivotal roll or spend anything to do additional ones or anything like this. So it's just an ability, and you can attack on other upgrades to him afterwards with no worries.
Yeah. Sounds good. So we've got the troop then. I think we've talked about most of the changes with the troop there. They gain the lead player, which gains an extra wound on one of the players essentially, and you can take a power sword.
Yeah, which is nice. I mean, think about Dark again. You got -4 AP power. It's not bad, And if you've got the 4 attacks or something with him, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm including in mine just because most of the guys, the rest of them are all going to have the kiss, caress, and embrace. But I just find for that extra AP sometimes that can just make a lot of difference.
Yeah, can help.
Cool. Death Jester next. So.
Oh, he's good. Oh, he's so good.
So stat-wise, no major changes apart from the extra couple attacks.
Yeah.
The Shrieker Cannon has had a change. Before it had 2 profiles that you could shoot and do some mortal wounds and stuff, but it's never really that effective, was it?
It could be with a very particular combination that I did really enjoy using, particularly for taking things like, what's the heavy support, heavy intercessors that every Space Marine player spams? That one I found quite fun because I did destroy entire units of that with that profile and a few extra buffs. But it is generally less swingy and more consolidated and is really good.
Yeah. So now it's a 30-inch range, up from 24. Yep. It's Assault 3. Excuse me.
Otherwise, do you like a glass of water?
Oh, yeah. I need some more water.
Yep.
Strength 6. -2.
Yep. And damage 2. I will continue with it for you. So, yes, it is 30-inch range, which is actually a really good thing because we do need the additional range. The 24 inches was just a little bit... It was just difficult. You're pushing him forward and moving him towards essentially threat ranges that he doesn't want to be anywhere near. The -2 basic and the flat 2 damage is definitely an upgrade. Yeah, but we don't get any relics anymore on them, which is a bit of a shame. I kind of like that, but
and the other abilities that gets shuriken. So on a roll wound of a 6, it's -4.
Oh, is it -4? Yes. I didn't even think about that one. I was using it for 3. Okay, -4.
So -4. And then on top of that, you can, each time it shoots, you can ignore the lookout, sir. So this is a 30-inch range, 3-shot, hitting onto strength 6, -2, flat 2 damage sniper rifle.
Very, very good. Very good.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a sec because there's some really nice buffs you can give this guy as well. So on top of that, you got Death is Not Enough. Each model that is destroyed by an attack made by this model counts as 2 models in the morale phase.
Which is, as we were sort of saying with some of the things like Shards of Light and other things can be devastating on larger units. It very much depends on kind of what your opponent can do to mitigate that, but there are ways in which we can further mitigate it. So it's a very interesting one. Yesterday I wasn't close enough, and he did use Insane Bravery on this one. But again, he's spending the CP in order to be able to do that. And if I'm draining CP from my opponent, that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, because if you kill 2 or 3 models there, that's 4 to 6 effectively, and that makes a big difference.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
Really nice.
Yeah, some really nice changes on there. I think that gun is a sweet spot, really.
That was great, yeah. Without being too overpowered.
Cool. Yeah, we can talk about it in a sec. Solitaire. A couple of changes on there. Still move 12, weapon skill, ballistic skill 2+. It's now strength and toughness 4.
Which is nice because there are things that mean that it's a little bit different with him. So I think it's a necessary change because of the other changes, basically.
Yep, it's 8 attacks, it's leadership 9 and 6+ save. Solitaire's weapons are now melee. It's just one profile for these guys. It's melee, it's +2 strength, -3 flat 2 damage. So essentially, strength 6, -3, 2 damage. This is James R sort of territories of output, really.
Yep,
really good.
Very powerful.
It's got a couple of bonuses on top of that as well for abilities. It's got Harlequin's Penelope, so it's going to be -1 to hit in combat as well when you do take some hits back. It's got Luck of the Laughing God, Rising Crescendo. Impossible Form, it has a 3-up invulnerable save still, which is a big deal because there's hardly any units now that have a 3-up invuln. So for him to keep it, it's really good.
I think he deserves it too, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the Solitaire. I mean, he's chosen the craziest role that you could possibly imagine. So yeah,
totally.
You'd hope he'd get some benefit from it. Yeah.
Path of Damnation, it can't take a relic or a warlord trait, which is a bit of a shame. But actually, I think it's probably right. I think it would. It's good enough as it is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And Blitz is still there. Slight change on it. Once per battle in your movement phase, instead of making a normal move, this model can make a Blitz move. If it does so until the end of the turn, add 2d6 to the movement characteristic and add 2 attacks to the model's characteristic.
The same as it was. It's great. It's now an inbuilt ability instead of a pivotal role, so you're not going to want to replace it with anything.
Yep.
I still like it. I think it's great.
Yeah, so probably going to roll 7 is going to get 19 inches. The nice thing as well is you can still do your advance on top of that as well.
It's not so much potential. I mean, you can get from one objective on one side of the board practically to the other corner, with no problem, which is exactly what I did yesterday, just to pick up Shadow Sun and then take the objective for me. So, he can get everywhere. He can really dish out that damage. He's very, very powerful.
And it's got the Caress and Kiss keywords there as well, so you can, with that Strength 6 -3 flat 2 damage, it can ignore invulnerable saves as well. It doesn't have the saedath keyword, so it's not going to get the benefits from the saedaths.
Yeah, and it cannot obviously run in transports and things, which is why I think the Toughness 5 and Strength 5 is a good thing. Toughness 4 and Strength 4 is a good thing because without being able to ride in a transport, you need some kind of durability buff to him, so I do think it's a good.
Yeah. And that's about it. So it's got some pretty solid.
Yep.
So let's move on to the Skyweavers then. A couple of changes with these. Their basic stats haven't really changed. They have picked up an extra attack. So the Harlequin on the back has remembered how to fight.
Yeah, it's great. Before it was like, why? He's a Harlequin on the bike. Why would he lose an attack? I mean, he's completely free, on top of that thing to then do all of his attacks. And there's 2 of them on there, so it's like, why? Why wouldn't he? So yes, it's really nice. Yep.
So a couple of changes now with the weapons that he has for shooting. So Skyweaver Haywire Cannon is now different from the Voidweaver one because it's a smaller vehicle, it's a bit lighter, etc. So it's range 24. It's heavy D3 +1. It's strength 3 -3 flat 3 damage. It's blast. Each time attack is made with this weapon against the vehicle, units any unmodified wound roll of a 4 is always successful, and an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts D3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to the normal damage.
It's different. I don't know if I would say it is necessarily worse or better. It has some nerfs to it. It has some buffs to it. I don't know. What do you think, Wes? I think you could take it.
I think it works out very similar to the old one. It's there or thereabouts. But for me, what I like is actually the fact now if we go on to the next weapon, which is the Shuriken Cannon, which like the rest of the Eldari is now heavy 3, strength 6 -1, and flat 2 damage. So it's now a choice.
Yeah, and the thing is you are paying the 5 points for the Haywire Cannon, and you're not paying anything for a Shuriken Cannon because it's built into the points of the bike. I personally like the Shuriken Cannon now more. I've been running, at the moment I'm running 3 units of 3 with Shuriken Cannons and Zephyr Glaives, and I think that for me has been kind of the sweet spot. I might move on to 2 units of 5, mostly for things like secondaries, like engage on all fronts and things. And also just to kind of, give me a little bit more oomph in combat, but I do think that's the loadout I'm looking at. And I think, Wes, you agree with me on that one. We really discussed that one, right? Yeah,
that's pretty much where I'm going right now. Cool. So other changes. Star Bowlers are now a 12-inch range assault D3. It's strength 7 -3, 2 damage and blast.
Yeah. With light, I can see this now being a thing. Shuriken Cannons and Star Bowlers in a light mask do have a lot of shooting output now because we're not limited to one of them. And overall, it's like if you've got a unit of, 5 with Star Bowlers and Shuriken Cannons, you're putting out a huge amount of damage to your attacks.
Yeah, and I do think we're in a vehicle meta right now as well. So any things where you can kill infantry like this is pretty useful.
Yeah, exactly. How many vehicles do you really see? You see a Rhino or 2, and quite honestly, if you've got a few fusion pistols, you're dead anyway. In Euros, Euro disruptors against monsters and things are fantastic. You got like 1 vehicle, it's like, do you need to look at it? Like, it depends on what it is, but half the time I'm like, I look at the vehicle and I just go, well, I'm just going to avoid it. I don't need it. I need to even deal with it.
Yeah, totally. So go on to the rest of it now. So you've got the Zephyr Glaives. So you've got an extra attack, and they're now +2 strength, -2 damage.
Yeah. So that is where our strength 5 is coming from, and it isn't bad.
Yeah, I'll buy that for $1. So yeah, strength 5, -2, 2 damage, and depending on what saedath you take, that's either going to be at -3 or you're going to be at 5 attacks. So
yeah. Yep. I did. That's when I was using the Twilight. I really did like the extra attack because 15 attacks with 3 bites is starting to be quite tasty. When you're up against something like, I mean, for me, the stealth suits, for example, you had a few stealth suits for homing beacons and all the rest of it. They just wrecked them. It was just like one unit of 3 bites just came in and just slapped them, and that was it. It was like, okay, so I can get out to the other end of the board, take this, then I can also further consolidate onto the objective, sit there, I've wiped your unit, and I've got the objective now, which also leads me to, certain secondary points and onto the primary for the following turn, and it's like, well, that was easy, much easier than I thought. Anyway, and the heavy aspect is annoying for any other mask because you are going to be limiting your movement if you want that shooting output, but again, it just gives you those choices to make. Do you need the shooting? Okay, then don't advance. Do you need to be in combat? Then you can advance really, really far up and still charge and do a lot of damage.
Yeah, totally. So let's have a look at the ability. They have Luck of the Laughing God. They have Rising Crescendo. They don't have the Harlequin's Penelope. What they do have, though, is the Hollow Suits. So it gives them a 4+ invuln save.
Yep.
They have a Harlequin's Mast, so they're -1 to hit in combat, which is a nice bonus because you're going to be in combat quite a bit. The Mirage Launcher's change. It's not a -1 to hit anymore. It prevents your enemy re-rolling any of their attack dice.
Yeah, which is nice. This has been, this was the bane of my Tau opponent's existence the other day because he's like, I've got these re-rolls. I'm like, yeah, we can't use any of them.
Sorry, mate.
All right. And particularly when coupled with something like lights, where it's like, well, you're hitting me on 4s. You want re-rolls? No, you're not getting any re-rolls either. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So initially I was like, it's a shame to lose that -1, but actually, I'll take the -1 in combat for that non-rerolling ability. That's really good.
That is. Yeah. Very fun.
Ride the Wind. Each time this unit advances, do not make an advance roll. Instead, move 6 inches extra. Fine. We'll change that. Cool. Let's talk Void Weavers. So first up, they are squadrons now, so you can take them in units of 1 to 3, which is a nice thing. And you'll see quite a bit of these, I think. Otherwise, stats are pretty much the same, but the weapons have changed now. So the prismatic cannon, 2 types of firing. There's the first one, which is a focused lance, which is 36 inches. Heavy 2, strength 12, -4, 2d3 damage.
Really, really good. If you were thinking, I've lost all these fusion pistols, there's your option. You still want that heavy, high strength, high damage weaponry? Prismatic cannon now is just so good. I used 2 of them in my first tester game. They do a lot of damage. And if you got 3 of them in the squadron,
so you can get so 1 has a potential to doing 12 damage. That's just with that weapon as well. So so the dispersed version is 36-inch range. It's heavy, 3d3, strength 5, -3, damage 1, blast. It's good against hordes.
It is.
Good against horde stuff.
It's not bad. It's not something we necessarily needed more of because of our own weapons and everything else that we can do, but it's not bad.
Yep. It's also still got the 2 shuriken cannons, so that's the. You've got 6, so you've still got 6 attacks there. Strength 6 -1, 2 damage. So again, there's a potential of another 12 damage there as well with the shuriken.
Shuriken cannon spam is going to be a thing, I think. They are so good now, and they're free on most things. So it's just like not paying any points for this thing. It's just going to give me all of these amazing attacks that I can use to absolutely wreck through all sorts of different types of infantry. So.
Yeah. So your other option is the tried and tested Void Weaver Haywire cannon. So a slight change now. It's a little bit different from the Skyweaver and the previous version of it. So it's 24-inch range. It's heavy, 2d3. It's -3, flat 3 damage, And similar to the other one, if you're going against a vehicle, a wound roll of 4 always successful, and on a wound roll of a 6 inflicts D3 mortal wounds.
Again,
in addition,
how many vehicles do you have in the meta right now? If you want a squadron of them, fair enough. That's probably going to be your anti-tank for your entire army, and you're done. You'd have a squadron of 3 Void Weavers with Haywire, 3 Void Weavers with Prismatic, and you're probably sorted. Personally, I would still just go for the Prismatic, simply because your damage output is more varied, and you can target anything that you want with that Strength 12. It doesn't matter if it's a vehicle, a knight, or whatever else. You're probably still going to take it down.
Yeah. So I think about 3 of those to start with is a good base for your army.
I need to buy more, but I'm broke right now. So give me a few months, guys, and we'll bring out those Void Weavers on this channel.
But there's more. So look at the Laughing God, and it's got hollow fields. So it's 4+ invuln stays the same. Hovering's changed a little bit. This is a nice change because it was a little bit frustrating before. Distance are measured from and to the hull or base, whichever's closest to the model in this unit.
Makes sense.
Rather than just being the base, actually model the hull. Fine, that's good. Ride the wind plus 6 inches to your, rather than rolling advanced dice. Mirage launchers are -1 to hit, and they stop rerolls.
They're so good. It's the same on the Star Weaver as well. So basically, we might as well talk about the Star Weaver because they're the same thing. But they're exactly the same chassis, so it makes sense that they would be the same kind of thing. Just obviously you replace the cannon on the Star Weaver with the transport capacity, which is still 6, but you have all of the same rules essentially. They're great. I think they're fantastic. The Void Weavers have definitely become like it's not an auto take, but definitely something that you should probably be looking into.
You should be considering.
Yeah.
So there's one addition to talk about, which you probably wouldn't have thought about before, and that's the Webway gate.
Yeah, that used to be it's there, but no one cares. Now, now,
good luck finding one of these right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was out of stock before. I think it was all the play testers basically bought them all before everything was released, because I was looking for one before as well, because I was like, oh, they're quite cool. Now I think I'm going to have to scratch build one, because I'm never going to find one in the next 6 months to a year, because they don't produce enough.
So when I started playtesting this book, I tried to get one of the Webway gates, and they were hard to get then. And they're even harder to get now.
I think I'm going to scratch build mine. I've been thinking about it. I do want to kind of make this because it's a terrain piece as well. I think it'd be fun, and I kind of want to do theatre curtains to.
Yeah, I really like what you're doing with yours. It's really cool, very cool. So this thing, it has no strength toughness now. It's just a thing. You can't touch it.
Yep.
Yeah. A bit MC Hammer.
Bit of MC Hammer in there. You know the song. We don't need to sing.
No, but I think many people won't. I think we're of that demographic where we do know about it, but others won't. There we go. Okay, mysterious appearance during deployment. When you set up this unit, you can set it up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 12 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and any enemy models. When this unit is set up on the battlefield, both of its Webway arches must be set up within 3 of each other. For this, I take it's the tips, because you can't really get the bases together. Once it's been set up, each Wraithbone arch is treated as an obstacle feature that has the following traits: light cover, heavy cover, unstable position, inspiring Eldari. Webway Travelers. If your army includes this unit and you're using strategic reserves rule, you can halve the command point cost required to replace Eldari units in the strategic reserves, rounding fractions down, which is nice. So what's half of 1 rounded down?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, it is good. Yeah.
This ability is not cumulative with any other ability, such as Prince of Corsairs, which is as your only thing. Webway strikes. This is the meat and potatoes. Each time an Eldari unit from your army arrives in strategic reserve, you can choose to set up anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within 6 inches of both Wraithbone arches of a friendly Webway gate. If you do so, Eldari units can be set up within 9 inches of their enemy models and can be set up within engagement range of enemy models. If an Eldari unit is set up within engagement range of any enemy models in this way, it counts as having made a charge move for that turn. Overwatch attacks cannot be made against that unit. And until the end of the turn, the unit can target any enemy units in its enemy unit it is within engagement range of with melee weapons, even though they didn't declare a charge that turn.
This is like almost the ultimate area denial thing now. I mean, it's gone from kind of why is this here, even to like I need one of those. And it's nice because what's the points cost of it now as well as?
I think it's 80 points.
It is 80 points. That's the same as a Star Weaver.
Yeah.
And you could put a big blob of 10 to 12 troop hidden in that thing, and anything that goes anywhere near you basically is going to be an engagement range. Now, it's fun and fluffy with the idea of Twilight, but also they count as charging, so they get the extra one attack. So, like, I think that it's something I definitely want as part of my list, and I think a lot of other people are going to be looking at it in the same way of, like, here is a corner of the board or an area of the board that you just don't want to go near.
Yeah. So I've got my 3 units now in my list that were in Skyweavers, and then I've got a Webway Gate, and I've got a 10-man unit that is sitting to come in, either because you can still come in from reserve and outflank and doing that stuff, or you can have them come in through the Webway Gate there. So yeah, there's some really nice shenanigans to go with that, which I really like.
It's a really good change. It's such a good unit now, actually. It's not quite the auto include, particularly if you are going for things like most transport spam, because there are 80 points that you are going to have to spend on that rather than a Star Weaver, and you do want to be building your list around it, because there's no point in having a 5-man squad coming out of a Webway Gate. There just isn't. You want a larger unit, and if it's the larger unit that you're going for, then you have that in the Webway Gate. You have everything else in transports or whatever else, or you just have a bunch of large units, of course. But it is really nice. It's a really nice change.
Yeah,
very, very powerful.
Very cool. So we're coming to the 90-minute mark now. Do you want to talk about some pivotal roles? Do you want to cover that in the next episode?
I would say let's do the pivotal roles, and then we will move on to everything else into episode 2, which we will record as soon as we can for you guys. But we wanted to do this one in depth, and me and Wes have been talking on the phone non-stop about like this basically since it came out, because it was like, yes, all the things we've wanted for ages and ages and ages, and we've been waiting for so long. Because I think there are very few bigger Harlequin fanboys than me and Wes, and we have been talking about it for quite some time.
Yes, so let's talk pivotal roles then. So each of the characters, so Troopmaster, Death Jester, Solitaire, and Shadowseers, all have the option to take a pivotal role. Yep. It doesn't replace anything you had before. It doesn't cost you command points anymore. There is a points associated with it. So you get to keep your core abilities and get this in addition to, which is really, really nice.
It's necessary for us as well, because the CP sync of pivotal roles is starting to become a point where I was like, I'm not going to have any, and we are still a CP intensive army.
Yeah, totally. So the Troop Masters, they got 3. It's the Prince of Light, the Queen of Shards, and the Veiled King. The Prince of Light, it's an aura ability. While friendly saedath core units is within 6 of this model, each time a charge roll is made for that unit, add 1 to the result.
It's nice.
Yep, it's a nice little bonus, especially if you're going. We assume troops going to get core keyword here, so if you're going troop heavy, this could be a nice one to really get them going off a little bit further. Queen of Shards, each time this model makes a melee attack on a modified roll of a 5+, invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against that attack.
That's a very nice one. A very, very nice one. It's not like we're already pretty damn good with our troop masters and combat and everything, and then when you're getting the 5s for no mortal wounds on top of that, this can chew through some stuff.
It's really good, isn't it?
Makes me assassin.
Yeah. So in fact, we should do a show actually on like different ways you can make your troop master, because I've made a little chart to work that out as well, just in all the different combinations. So I think that'll probably be a good show actually.
We can put that one in the second episode as well, because we'll run through a bunch of combos, different list ideas then as well.
Yeah.
But for now we'll finish up on the pivotal roles, and you guys can browse through your codex and see what you guys think as well.
Yeah, it'd be great for people to put comments as well of what different combos they've come up with as well. That'd be a great idea. So Veil King is the third one you can choose. each time a model makes a melee attack, unless the target is a vehicle or monster unit, the modified wound roll of a 2+ is always successful.
It is lovely. It's again, it mitigates the things like the nerf to choreographer of war, and with a certain relic that we will be talking about next time, I think this is quite a deadly combo.
Yeah. So Troop Master hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, boatload of attacks, which is good. So Death Jesters. There you have the Harvester of Torment, the Lord of Crystal Bones, and the Rift Ghoul. Cool names.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's been saying it. I think Chef was saying it makes them sound like a Swedish metal band. And I was like, it's very cool. Yeah,
it's neat. So Harvester of Torment, each time a model makes a ranged attack and a modified roll of 6 scores 3 additional attacks.
It sounds like it should be okay, and it's weirdly the cheapest costed one in here. But then the combo is so obvious that we might as well just say it, because there's a way of giving him a warlord trait. There's a warlord trait called the Favor of Kagorak, where you can just after the roll turn a dice into a 6. So you are pretty much looking at a minimum usually of 6 attacks with this, with a sniper, with the profile, and it is almost ridiculous how powerful.
Yeah. And there's also the strategy you can use as well, Blade Storm. So when you roll the 6 to hit as well, you get an additional hit.
Yeah, so we're talking potentially 15 shots on on the Death Jester that costs about 70 points. It's
a bit of all right. The Lord of Crystal Bones. Each time this model shoots, if a hit is scored, unless the target is a vehicle or monster, until the start of your next turn. 2 points. First point, subtract 2 from the movement characteristics of the models in that unit to a minimum of 0. Second point, it cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend.
Really, really useful. So it's like your Dark Stratagem, but on a DJ. We had this before, basically the same kind of thing. It is a bit limited because there's no longer vehicles or monsters. I think it was before. It was okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now it's been limited a little bit. It's kind of understandable again. And if you combine it with the Dark, then the Dark just says like, well, you can't do that either, so you can do it twice. I think it's still really good.
Yeah, I really like it. For me, I find the Death Chest is actually really good toolbox units now.
Oh, absolutely.
And for this, sometimes just that 2 inches of movement can make a big difference. Cool. The last one's Rift Ghoul. Each time this model makes an attack, the target does not receive the benefits of cover. And bearing in mind your AP -2 now, so that's really beneficial. On the unmodified wound roll of a 4+, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage.
He's the most situational out of the 2 of them, but I mean, I was playing all 3 last game because I'm genuinely thinking that might just be a normal feature of my lists now is 3 Death Jesters. Just so good. And against things like stealth suits or anything that gains these additional cover saves or assassins or all of these other things, it's just that way of being like, oh, and also do a bit of extra damage to you, hide as much as you want. You're not getting away from me yet,
Yep. Yeah, just really cool. And it's 20 extra points, but I think you'll probably do that back in Mortal Wounds, I think, quite easily.
Yep.
Yeah, it's worth it.
So
next one is all good. Solitaire. So 3 ones for this: Prince of Sins, Spectre of Despair, Thirsting Darkness. Okay, Prince of Sins. Each time an attack is made with this model, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. That attack's hit roll cannot be re-rolled.
Yeah. So it's again a bit of a durability buff. And I think it's quite a nice one.
Yeah, because it's in both combat and shooting as well, so it just makes it a little bit more durable.
Yep.
For me, it's not necessarily a go-to one for me because I think this you can pick and choose your targets that you fight, and you can hide this character pretty well. So
yeah, it's a nice one in some ways because you might want to keep him alive for longer, but it's kind of for me not really necessarily what you want from a solitaire. The solitaire has very specific functions, and I don't think staying alive on something is necessarily part of it.
Yeah, so for me, it's a tough choice between the next 2. So Spectre of Despair, essentially you can deep strike. 9 inches away from enemy models. And the second thing you get is when you do make a charge, which is a slight change from before. It's only before you only got this bonus when you came in from a deep stripe, but now anytime you make a charge, you roll an additional d6 and discard one of the dice.
Yep, it's really nice. It failed me yesterday a little bit because I managed to still fail the charge move, which would have actually cleared off a drone unit from the only objective that I didn't have at the time. And drones can't actually hold the objective or whatever. It was just more just to kind of like get him there and get him onto the objective, and then I just rolled like 2 3s and a 2 or something. I was like, but it is a really nice bonus, and also it gives you again the deployment, like the help with the deployment as well, because he just for free you just put him into strategic reserves essentially, paying the points for it. But yeah, it's nice. I like it. I still think I might stick with this one, but the next one is so good. It's
I really struggle between the two. Really struggle. So the next one is each time the model advances, do not make an advance roll. Instead, until the end of the phase, add 6 to the move characteristic of this model.
Yeah, it's not like he's fast already,
So you've got this shadow seer just going around at 18 inches.
Solitaire.
Sorry, solitaire. And there's more. Not only that, each time the model piles in or consolidates, this model can move an additional 3 inches.
Really nice. I mean, it's a shame that he doesn't have saedath, because with Twilight that would be ridiculous because they'd just be moving everywhere. Even as it stands, I think it's a very, very powerful buff.
So I think this is a great one because you can find yourself with 18 inches being able to go on the other side of a unit, attack it at mid-distance, and then potentially killing off that unit, get in position, then you can actually consolidate it to another unit nearby. Just really cool. And then the final ones for the Shadow Seers. So it's got Agent of Pandemonium, Gloom Spider, and Mirror Architects. Agent,
they're all really good.
It's really tough, this one. So while an enemy unit is within 6 of this model, subtract 1 from the attack characteristic of that unit.
It was the same as the last time. It hasn't really changed, but it is still so good, particularly in a meta where there is a lot of melee attack, and things are getting more and more and more powerful in some ways, and so just being able to mitigate that's really good.
Yeah, totally. Next one's Gloom Spider. In your command phase, select 1 enemy unit within 12 of this model until the start of your next command phase. Enemy units cannot benefit from an enemy unit's aura ability.
Very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, way to go to make something a little bit less effective.
Yeah, exactly. We were thinking about a lot of those kind of aura effects that you do get in the game. I mean, sure, the hit rolls and things might not even be really your priority given the amount of other things that we can do, but there are some aura abilities that you definitely want to be just targeting with it. Just go, no, you can't do that. I'm sorry. No more rolls of 1 for you, or no more this for you, or no more whatever else it is for you.
It's just speeding the game up, really, isn't it? Stopping getting all these rerolls and using those stupid command abilities.
Yeah, I like that as well, because sometimes I'm sat there waiting for a player who's tail players taking 40 minutes on their shooting phase and stuff. And just like, oh my goodness, just get it over and done with. Fine, no, you don't get rerolls. Done. Just speed it up now. Yeah.
So the final one, Mirror Architect. While friendly saedath units are within 6 of this model, each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot when measuring the range to any model in that saedath unit. That model in that saedath unit is considered to be an additional 6 inches from that shooting model.
It's the Veil of Illusion, but renamed, basically. It is the same thing. It is still just as potent. It is still almost... If you're only running 1 Shadow Seer, I do think this is probably the one you're going for. If you run an additional one, it's really difficult to decide. I think that's kind of where I'm going with it. It's like those other 2 are really good, both of them, but this is the one that is going to protect you from a lot of stuff. And
it combos really nice with the psychic powers as well that the Shadow Seer is going to be spooting off as well. So
exactly, yeah. So I'd say this is your default, depending on how many Shadow Seers you want to run. I'm enjoying running 2 at the moment. I think it's actually really good. They are expensive. They're very expensive points-wise, like as part of your army. 3 is going to be a push unless you're really building around that idea, but 2 I think for me is actually at the moment the sweet spot, and I'm really enjoying both of the buffs for that one.
So that's the pivotal roles. I think they're a really nice addition, and I think there's no real stinkers there. I think they're all good. Some are a little bit better than others, but they're all starting from a very good base.
Yeah. The issue is that the points are going to rack up quick. So if you are starting to upgrade all of your characters with hundreds of pivotal roles, relics, and all of these things, you're starting to look at 100+ points for a lot of your characters. I mean, the Death Jesters, I think you can't just do all three, because if you look at it, it's just like, well, 70 to 75 points for each. Yeah, you know what? I'll take it. But with everything else, you're kind of going to have to start looking. It's like, how many of these do I actually want to use? And that's part of it. Right, Wes, I think that's all we got time for today, right? Because we've already nearly spoken for 2 hours. We are going to do a part 2. Don't worry, we will go into depth with every single other part of the codex, and we will be looking into combinations. But for now, we are going to leave it here, I think. Wes, did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to share?
No, I'm just looking forward to doing the next one. But I would say just go out and play the book. If you've got any comments and stuff, put them in the comment section below, and give us anything else that you've spotted, really, especially when we start going to the combos on the next one. That'd be great to get other people's thoughts too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Let's just make this a community space, guys. Write in whatever your thoughts, feelings, opinions, anything that you want to say about the new book, any combos you've decided on, which is your favorite saedath, what's your favorite kind of build for a troop master, anything that you would like to put in, drop it in the comments below, because we will be doing part 2, and we will start looking over some of your commentary as well and going, ooh, that's something I hadn't thought of. Or obviously we will name whoever it is that has decided to put that one in.
Yep, brilliant.
Yeah,
it's great to do another chat.
And really nice to talk to you again, Wes, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. It is only part 1. Don't worry, we will get onto everything else as well, but we're already looking at a 2-hour video here, so we'll see how we go with that one. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and whatever you're doing, whether you're painting your Harlequins, moving on, or just starting out as well, don't forget to like and subscribe. It does really help me at this point, because I want to keep the community going and to build everything up. So yeah.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Okay, bye for now.